Welcome to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I'm JJ Flazanes, your host. Thank you for downloading today's show. Last week I announced I was going to be in the National Enquirer on Wednesday, September 6th. And it's so funny because I went to the grocery store on Tuesday. I went Tuesday, September 5th, and I just thought, well, let me just check the date. I don't know if this is a daily publication or a weekly publication because, in all honesty, I've never purchased the National Enquirer. So I went to the store. It was a Rite Aid, and I looked at the National Enquirer, and it said September 4th. Actually, no, it said September 11th. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I was told it's coming out on Wednesday the 6th. So I called my publicist and I said, can you please ask the writer? He told me the 6th. He told you the 6th. Can you confirm? Because I'm looking at this magazine and it's this newspaper and it's a once a week paper. And the date on this one says the 11th. And then the lady behind the counter had actually even given me to look at a copy from the previous week, which was September 4th. So I looked through both of those and the story wasn't in there. And of course the writer came back and said, no, it's September 6th. Okay. So I ended up getting an email from the writer and my publicist with a PDF copy of the article and the whole paper that it's in. And of course, as I looked at the JPEG on the cover, it said September 18th. So it came out yesterday for those of you that are in the States. And it's on page 2. And it's literally like 2 lines. And it's a story about Jonah Hill. It's not a full page. It's maybe not even a half a page. It might be a quarter of a page. So for those of you that might have looked, it is in the September 18th, although coming out on the 11th edition of the National Enquirer. So kind of funny, just in case you were looking. And you can also go online, I'm sure, and find it by that point. And I also have a copy and I may post it. Now, I have one more announcement. For those of you that are doing the 30-day manifestation challenge, some of you know that we use all kinds of tools within that group, and today's show is about tarot, I say both, and intuition, and tools that can help you communicate and pick up on your vibration and on your frequency, things that you are not in tune with yet, but that are around you, energy that you're omitting, energy that's around you that you're just not clicking into. And so I think it's a really fun tool. And this is a great show for anybody, but especially for those of you who are looking for more guidance, looking for more ways to receive information, because this month we're focusing on receiving. I think tarot cards are a great way to check in and see sort of what your non-physical self wants you to know by using different kinds of cards. And we have back Lori Kazan, and this show was really fun to do. But one of the announcements I want to make for those of you that have thought about doing the challenge, but maybe there's some obstacles for you, like you don't think you can commit to being accountable, or you don't want to do a Facebook group, or you're not on Facebook. For those of you that are interested in the idea of doing a manifestation challenge or getting into a habit or pattern of using other tools, I made the tools that we use on that challenge available for anyone to purchase. So if you'd like to purchase any of the audios, there's 7 of them now. When you do the challenge, there are 2 you have access to for free. Actually, there's 2 plus another great energy clearing from Lisa Thomas that you have access to for the month for free, but you don't get to keep any of them. So then I decided I would sell them, and I created 5 more. So there's a total of 7. Each of them are $11, but you can buy all 7 for $47. So if it's something you're interested in, I think the fastest, easiest way for you to get there, especially if you're driving and not sitting at a computer, would be to go to jjflazanes.com, go to blog, and then the last post about that I did last week, prayer versus meditation, that post has the link in it. Now that may be too many steps. If you've gone to fit2love.tv before, so a lot of you have, because you've signed up for the Manifestation Challenge, and that's where you have to go. Fit2love.tv, under products or programs is where you can find the link to buy the audios. So those are where to go if you want to try it out. And you can just buy one. And if I had to tell you which one I'd suggest you buy for $11, it's one of the new ones that I did called 10-minute, I think it's a morning meditation for receiving mode. I think that one's a really great one to put you in a great state. So besides being in receiving mode and welcoming information that you already have access to, but you may be blocking by too much doing, too much nervous energy, and too much anxiety, I definitely think today's show will enlighten you to other tools that are super fun and different for you to gather information that your non physical self, your higher self, your angels, creator, source, God, whoever you want to say, your ancestors, whoever wants you to know. I think it's a fun thing to do. So I hope you enjoyed today's show. Today's show, Tarot and Intuition. We have back Laurie Kazan. Laurie was chosen as one of the top psychics in a worldwide audition for the prestigious Edgar Cayce Institute. Many call her their secret weapon for her powerful ability to supply information that allows them to earn more money, make better decisions, and experience greater success, especially in love and in business. An award-winning writer, she regularly publishes articles on psychic and metaphysical topics, as well as anything related to expanded levels of consciousness, prosperity, and happiness. Happiness Calls Your Name is not only her first book, but one that seemed to come to her and demand to be written, as well as shared. You can find out more about Laurie at ilovemypsychic.com. Welcome to the show, Laurie.
Hi, and thank you for having me.
Yes, it's great to have you back. I really loved our first two shows. And now we're going to talk about tarot and intuition. Let me first start off by saying, is there an incorrect way to say that word? Is it tarot or tarot?
Well, I've noticed that people from the East Coast say tarot. I say tarot because it sounds more French to me. Now, some people feel the tarot was created in India first, but it was obviously popular in Europe. To me, I think it's tarot. But if you're from the East Coast and you're a lot of the famous people who write books, I think it's equally divided in how they say it.
Okay, so if I toggle back and forth, everyone just know that that's why, because I can't decide which camp to be on, which one I like better. So this topic of tarot and intuition, I did a show in season 1 on a Freedom Friday. It was episode 98, How to Use Tarot Cards. Or tarot cards, right? And I did it because I just wanted to introduce people to the idea of tools when dealing with the emotions, with their psyche, with intuition. But, I'm not an expert in this like you are. So I really want to sort of go back and fine tune that information a little bit. So first, let's start off with this show's topic of tarot and intuition. How does tarot work?
How does it work? I don't know if anybody really fully knows, but we can say that we use a process of synchronicity. And I'll explain that a little more. And synchronicity is a word coined by the great Dr. Carl Jung, psychoanalyst. It We prepare ourselves. I mean, you can just go to a deck and pull a card and look in a book and see what the meaning is, what the book says the meaning is. And that will give you something. It will at least start to give you a relationship with the cards. But tarot works on ancient images. There are so many decks now. There are modern decks. So you get into very many different kinds of images. But it works by kind of nudging a part of our brain, which is simply imagistic, that part of our brain that knows so much and can take things in even without words. Now, we have words with the tarot. We have more and more books every day, more and more ways of looking at it. But synchronicity has the idea that things occur in fields. So if you're looking to get an answer for something, you start to incubate that question. Living with a question is a really profound way of just getting answers from the universe. They say the universe is always talking to us. We're just not always listening. And a lot of times we have so many questions in our heads at the same time that we're not breaking it. It's hard to get a simple answer when you're asking multi-level questions at once. Sometimes when people come for readings, they'll say, I just have one question or two questions. And as I break it down to the essence of what they want to know, they have maybe 5 or 10 questions. So something about slowing down and working with the universe and really listening to what it's saying makes the relationship with intuition powerful. We all have intuition. And you and I were just talking about body type and body intuition because I was injured and having to learn to walk again and having to slow down and take things literally in small steps. We all want to be the masters of everything. But if we come to an oracle And there are many kinds of oracles. The tarot is one. If we come to the oracle as a beginner, as an initiate, and you could say we're asking the will of the gods, we're asking the higher power, whatever it is for you. Kuan Yin, I think I said in the last call that I knew a woman who would say, I don't care if you pray to your shoe, just find something and make it a higher power and not your best thinking as your higher power. So we come and we have a question. And maybe your question is as simple as, um, what does the universe want me to know? What's my highest guidance for today? And you can sit with that question and kind of infuse it into the atmosphere and into the cards. And it starts to create a relationship, a vibration, whatever you want to call it. So we could, in a sense, think of the cards as living, breathing images. They take the archetypal images, that is, every kind of community, every state, every has certain images. The mother, the wise one. There's certain recurring images in us as human beings, no matter where we're from. And so the tarot actually uses some of those images, if not all of them, and more. So you asked me how the tarot works, and to get back to how it works, one simple way is mix the cards together, infuse your energy into the cards, get to know your deck. Imagine that we can have a relationship with anything. You can have a relationship with your food. In fact, you do. You can have a relationship with the cards, even though on one level they're just pieces of paper with drawings on them.
For someone, though, that has never pulled a tarot card or worked with any cards whatsoever,
hmm
do we tell them that it is a reflection of what's going on within them? Or is it a message from the outside that's wanting their attention? Or is it a combination of both?
Well, as above, so below. So, what's going on inside you will be reflected in your outsides, which is where affirmations come in because, I don't believe totally in it, but I think it certainly has an effect that what you've been thinking tends to outpicture in your world. A lot of times when I do a spread for somebody, and then I'll get back to a more direct, I think, a more direct answer. If I do a spread for somebody, I look and I see where they're going. I ask for a reflection of what do they need to see, where are they headed, and what do they need to see. And if I don't like where it's going, say it's going to a crash or it's going to, and the crash, is the crash an internal crash? Is it, we can look at that in terms of the language of the cards. It's a little more complex. But say we see a card and we go, I don't want to go in that direction and it's my life. Well, is it inevitable? The cards also deal with, is it inevitable? Is this part of your karma? Or do you have some conscious control here? So I look at that, and a beginner is probably not going to look at it that way, but what we can see is, say you asked me something before we you didn't ask me, actually you were talking about something that you were working with, and I pulled a card on it while you were talking, and I got the 10 of wands. Now, if I didn't know any cards, the 10 of wands in this particular deck has a guy, he's got all these great wands, and yet he's holding them like they're an enormous weight. Sometimes you get stuff in your life, you get just what you want, but now you got to figure out how to hold it so that it's not a weight against you. So if you were somebody who'd never seen the cards before and I said, "Hey, stop on this and halt and just pull a card for this issue where you don't feel like you can move forward," and you picked this 10 of wands card without even knowing anything about the cards, your mind does relate to images. And your mind would say, that person really looks like they're lugging something, but then these wands have all sorts of new little green shoots on them. And you could look at it sometimes, and people like Mary Greer, who write very many tarot books, when they do a reading for people, they do it from a psychological standpoint, as a strong part of it, where they'll show you the cards and ask you what you see in it. So whether you know the meanings or not. Did I answer your did I answer your question?
Yeah, and that's very cool that you pulled that because it's definitely what's been going on
hmm
here recently in my Because isn't wands mental energy?
Well, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's, new things coming into life and into being. And like I said, there's that you've got all this great stuff, but you got to find a way to contain it and hold it. And again, back to the things of slowing down to be with our intuition, because we're all going so fast and we have this model of a battery or something that's supposed to go 24/7, and you hit the lever and where's the answer? And you can do that with tarot, but I don't know that that's your best. I don't know. There's all sorts of ways approaching tarot. Pull a card, and I know people that read it. I remember this guy, another reader where I was working, saying we did a spread about a woman who was looking to see who were the women or what was going on in this guy that was mistreating her, what was going on in his life. And as I was doing the spread, this other guy came up in back of me and he goes, "Oh my God, look at all the women showing up in that spread. This guy's got tons of women. Move on." He was much more of a masculine kind of, reader of, hey, you know what? Dump the guy, move on. He's got women all around him. And that's one kind of reading, and it may be as accurate as anything. When I'm reading for somebody, a lot of times when they're in a difficult relationship, if they could dump the guy, if they could just walk away, they probably wouldn't be coming for a reading. So we then look at another level of complexity. What is this person in their life for? What can they draw from this? How can they use this situation? Because nobody likes to be, well, I don't, maybe I can't say nobody, but most of us don't want to be in a relationship where we're being mistreated. But very often, certainly in readings, we get people that are in relationships where it is emotionally abusive. It's not physically abusive, although that can happen too, but it's emotionally not bringing them what they want. So then we look into all the psychology. What are you here to discover? Where's this relationship? We can go back and forth. What is this relationship bringing you? Why this person at this time? How are they a reflection of you? Well, I do what are they thinking about you, but I do that with the cards, but I do that more with telepathy than with the cards. But I do have a relationship spread where how does the person see you in their conscious mind? And then I also pull a card for how do they see you in their gut level, the part that they may not even be conscious of. I also pull cards for what can you expect next from this person and what can you expect overall.
What I love about the use of cards, whether it be tarot or, and I want to talk a little bit more about other decks that are out there. I've got a goddess deck, I've got an angel deck. I know there are oracle cards. So there are all different kinds of cards. And what I think is really beneficial about them is the reflection, as we were talking about, right? As above, so below, but also the clarity. I had a question once about a group that I was a part of, and I was wondering if leaving would be a good choice or just staying, being supportive. And I pulled some cards, and I pulled 3 cards, and I did it for the beginning, middle, end, or the before, now, and later kind of spread to tell me a little bit more of a story. And it became really clear that staying was the wrong choice. So it gave me the validation I need to make a
Hmm.
choice. So I use the cards for that validating, energetic thing that my mind was ignoring, the emotion that I was having. It was sort of talking me into staying past the time that
Hmm.
I needed. And so the cards really gave me that validation. I also really appreciate cards of, like what you said, what am I supposed to do? Like inspiration or
Hmm.
focus. What am I supposed to do today? Or what am I supposed to know about? Or what does the universe want me to reflect on or be present with or to recognize? And so pulling one card for that reason, I really also appreciate that. But let's talk a little bit about pulling cards for what you were just talking about in terms of, what's going on with someone else. I really appreciate the psychological depths and dives that happens that you're talking about doing with tarot. But what I'm not crazy about is when I've heard people that sort of go, and I know we talked about psychic ability on a previous show, and how everyone has a psychic ability. But let's say I come to you because I'm in a relationship and I want to know what's going on with it. I feel like there's a focus that people want to get from some of this work, whether it be using a psychic
Mhm.
or doing tarot, that's so external and about the other people or about things outside of themselves, that doesn't serve them because it doesn't address what's going on with them. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. And we get it a lot. When I worked in a psychic bookstore, I got it more, and people would get angry at me for not focusing so much on, for wanting to bring it back to the place where you have some power, which is over your own self and the choices you make and what kinds of choices you can make even in difficult situations. So the external, they have 12-step programs, Codependence Anonymous, Al-Anon, dealing with how much focus do you put over another person in your life. And we as readers, the ideal thing would be not doing that because there is a level, and I have said this to clients, it's not your business. I know it seems like your business what he's, all of this stuff. And if the other person, the person they're asking about is open, I can read more, about what they're thinking but I do that, I can do it with the cards even when their minds are closed, but it's not fair and it's not right. And we can, as readers, we're still people that want to be liked. And we want to give people their money's worth. I want them to be satisfied after the reading. And I know that sometimes I'm going to say things that aren't going to be what they want to hear. And that's really hard because they're paying me and you want to you don't want to say it in a negative way because we're never left without any solutions or ways, but very often, and it happens to me more with women, although I've had some clients, male clients, it's generally been when they've fallen in love with somebody they met at a strip bar, somebody who's a stripper that they're trying to support and is really the one. And if she could only break away from those terrible people she's with. So it's generally I've gotten that, and when men call about relationship, not always. I mean, but I certainly have gotten that. I have more women clients, and often with women, what's he thinking of me? What does he feel about me? Why is he ever going to leave his wife? Is he, and the odds are no, he's quite happy with the situation of having a girlfriend and a wife. But that's not everybody, and we can do the cards. We can look in the spread to see, well, what's his relationship with his wife? But there again, we're on that little precipice of, we could focus to the other person about why are you in this situation? Is this, but we can't, when I first started, I would be more moralistic or make a generalization like, don't be with a married man. It's not a good idea. It's not morally where you want to be, et cetera, et cetera. And people got mad at me. And because where I was working in that bookstore, I was going to get a lot of people that were doing that and they were married. And so if I take judgment off of it, and the judgment is about our own spirituality. For me, the cleaner my spirituality, the clearer my life, the more I'm with my own integrity, the better my life goes. So if you're with a married man and it's not out of integrity for you, I don't know if I'm not sure. Sometimes people are like, no, it's no big deal. But for most of the clients that I've read for, it actually is a big deal. They really want this person to leave the wife and marry them, and they don't want him to cheat afterward. So that tells you something about what they believe is with the wrong person, and with the right person, he will change. And I think that gets back to what you're saying about we want to change another person or put our focus over there. If only I could fine tune the picture. It's kind of like fine tuning the TV picture well enough to please me, or fine tune this guy so that I could be happy and he would offer me what I know he's capable of, but is somehow not doing.
And this show would consider that behavior victim mentality. And we've done several shows on things like betrayal and the persecutor, victim, rescuer, because again, it's that regardless of, yes, you want to be with somebody else who is already in a committed relationship. But I also come from the place of believing that, as you said, so, as above, so below, everything in our life is a reflection. And you said this too, of what's going on inside of us. So the only thing we can control at all times is how we think, how we feel, how we show up, how we act, and how we react. So it is just so I just wanted to put that out there in terms of, because I know that a lot of people shy away from, and I do too, either psychic readings or tarot or astrology because they feel like it's predicting something outside of their control. And I use it as tools. I use all of it as tools for me in terms of self-reflection, self-validation, self-actualization, things I need to look at and how it can help empower me, not manipulate another, not predict something that I then have to run and try to avoid. That's not what I'm into at all. So I just wanted to make sure people know that's clear, because I know I've had a couple tarot readings in my life, but I love using the cards myself. I think it's a great tool for people to also use for that realization, actualization, validation, inspiration, focus for themselves. So for the rest of the show today, I want us to be able to give people tools so that they could use the cards to do just that.
So let me say one thing to that. None of us, most of us educated, modern psychics, we don't want to be fortune tellers. We really feel like the best way to, you can create your own fortune. And the more the oracle at Delphi said, know thyself. The voice of the gods is going to be saying something for your own psychological well-being. Or I can remember years ago when I had a reading and it wasn't tarot, it was just oracle cards or any kind of deck of cards. And I remember the reader said to me, these cards, and it was about a relationship, she said, these cards don't reflect you. This is not who you are. And I never forgot that, because I've gotten that with people, like when you get into bad situations and you're trying to make it change, is that who you are? Is that where you want to be? So I agree with you. I don't like to be a fortune teller. And when I say that there's things more in our control, which the minor arcana reference, and the major arcana are like more karmic, it doesn't mean that our self-will isn't stronger than any of this stuff. It means forewarned is forearmed, not like prediction in a strong sense. Tarot is really not for fortune telling, although everyone who's not involved in it thinks it is, and we can use it a bit that way. But it really is to guide you so you can have the best kind of life. For instance, I pulled a card whether I should go to New York for the big Tarot conference, and I got the Nine of Swords. Well, that could be, if I look at that card, it's somebody in this deck where they're crying and there's all these swords up on the wall, and but nothing is stabbing them. Well, you could take that, it's considered a kind of a negative card if you were going to put a judgment, and you could say, well, that's just a no, kind of like that guy was reading before, like, oh, look at all these women, now that's just an obvious no. Or you can also look, and one of the things that I look at the Nine of Swords and I say, well, that's when we wake up in the middle of the night and things look worse to us than they are. So I look at that, and I'm probably going to take it as a no, but I also take it as a psychological, or I don't know if that's the right word, but in speaking to me, because I injured my leg, I don't know that I'm going to be well enough to be in New York to do that thing. So I can be imagining the worst. Maybe I will be able to walk through it in a much easier way. And certainly people have been really helpful during this injury time. So there's two things. I can look at that card as, it may not be easy when you go there, but it may not be as bad as you think. And then I can make a decision from there, or I can disregard it totally.
So we're going to take a break to thank our sponsors. And when we get back, Lori and I are going to go over some of the other card decks that are out there and how to make a choice about what the right deck is for you, and then how to change your energy. Lori's going to lead us through a little visualization meditation to use a deck. So how to get prepared to take whatever deck you're using and how to use it to benefit you. So we'll be right back. Do you struggle with weight loss and body image? Are you turned off by most of the fitness industry because of the external focus on how you look? Me too. My latest book, The Invisible Fitness Formula, 5 Secrets to Release Weight and End Body Shame, is about connecting mind, body, and soul. Imagine discovering a proven formula for total wellness so you can finally release the weight and experience true happiness and deep fulfillment without starving or depriving yourself or working out 7 days a week. You can stick to a program and get results and enjoy it without calorie counting, logging your exercise, and falling off the wagon, and I can show you how. The Invisible Fitness Formula, 5 secrets to release weight and end body shame, will address every single part of your body, mind, and soul. There's been something missing in the programs you've done in the past, and there still is something that's been sabotaging your efforts. Heal it, transform it, and release it. InvisibleFitness.com. Okay, Lori, so what kind of deck would be, is it just one of those whatever I'm attracted to or where I am in my life, what kind of information I want? How do I choose a deck?
You can have more than one. You can go on US Games or you can go to a bookstore or when I was teaching, really actively teaching, I did work at a bookstore, and I would tell people, and I think a lot of even Barnes and Noble, I think, has open decks that you can go and see, or you can go in a psychic book shop, and they'll let you kind of play with the decks. And I suggest that you go with one that's attractive to you. Now, there are some that are easier to learn with. I started well, the one I started with really decades ago is probably not one I would recommend to learn with. It was the of Marseille. And that was one of the original, if not the original deck, or one of the original decks, but that's all there was in those days. Most people like to start with the Rider Waite deck, some version of the Rider Waite deck, because it is so well drawn. Um, the minor arcana has pictures on it. So many decks we've got thousands of decks now, and some of it you get the ancient slant, some of it you get that creator slant. There's so many different things. So my suggestion is you go and you look at decks and you see how they feel in your hands. Now, I've bought decks that I didn't end up using for other people very much, or they were beautiful and I liked them, but that wasn't it. A great all-around deck that I sort of avoided until I started teaching classes was the Rider-Waite Smith. And I tend to use that a lot now. Many decks are based on that. I love the decks put out by they make the Bohemian Cats. They've got Alice in Wonderland decks. They have really beautifully illustrated decks, and I'll think of their name in a moment. They're based in Czechoslovakia, in Prague. So I say go with what pulls you. And as you're learning, you can also get another deck. When I teach, I take everybody's decks who's in the class, and I start talking about a card, but then I hold up the other versions of it too, so we can look at it kind of like a prism and we can see it from many, different people's pictures of what that card means.
I also have, like I said, a goddess deck and an angel deck. I just thought they were pretty. I was inspired by them, and one of them might have been a gift. I'm not sure, but I know I love all those decks, and so I'll just have a habit of pulling one of each from each deck. So I'll pull a angel card first, a goddess card second, and a tarot card third, unless I want to focus on a problem or situation, like I told you about that group. Then I'll pull through. I'll use the spreads in the back. I used to do a 7-card a year at the beginning of every year, a 7-card spread, and then or I'll do the answer a question with 3 cards. So I know they're all, and those all that information is usually in the back of the book that comes with the deck of the different kinds of spreads. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of tarot readers think that the book is a joke. I think the books have good stuff, but they always, at the conferences will throw the book out and make a big thing. I think the books can be very helpful, but I also think that there's an intuitive, looking at the picture, looking at the card, and keeping your own dictionary of what the meanings are for you. And if you're keeping your own journal or dictionary, you can see if you turn out to be right, if you're being more predictive with it, or even in your own psychology or spirituality, you can use the cards to interpret your dreams. You can see which cards start to synchronistically appear for you a lot. Why are you drawing so many swords for the month of January, or uh, and what you can look at. You can take this anywhere you want. Just like with psychology, we can go as deep as we want. We can go into alchemy. The we can go there's so many places that people link the tarot cards that it can blow your mind.
And we will not be able to address all that
No, I'm
today,
not even
but that
started.
no, 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 I'm glad that you're letting us know, though, how much more there is, right? Because I think people think, "Well, it's just their deck of cards and what's to it?" But really there can be a lot more to it, which is why we're doing another show about it because my first show was a very general overview. If you haven't heard it and you're interested, it's episode 98 in season 1 on Freedom Friday, how to use tarot cards, or I think I said tarot at the time. But you had a meditation or visualization to help us get prepared to pull cards?
Well, I did Tarot of the Intuitive Heart course for one of the LA Tarot Symposium some years ago. And I was pulling up this thing that I had done, and I did it for people to work with partners, but I think I can alter it so that if you're listening to this and you have a deck, any deck at all, you can even use playing cards, but that's another show in itself. Um, but you spread out the deck and first, shuffle it. Get your energy into the deck. Some people sleep with the deck, a new deck, they'll sleep with it under their pillow. Um, and it may change your dreams. It may affect your dreams, but you can start to just infuse your energy into it. But you can now just kind of like fan the deck out. And we're going to take a minute and we'll do a little meditation.
So if you're driving,
Yeah.
don't close your eyes. If you're exercising, don't close your eyes. Just know to come back to this when you're in front of your deck and be alert while you're listening to this. Just absorb what Lori is saying and putting us through on a different level. And then of course come back to this when you are with your deck. Go ahead, Lori.
Okay, so we're just going to do a little capsule meditation that you can use quickly, a little sound bite. So I want you to think of something. So close your eyes. Allow yourself to be in your own skin in this time, in this place. Just releasing everything and anything. Just releasing and allowing yourself to be. Begin to think of something in your life that is currently challenging you or about which you have a question. Settle your intent upon a single question or focus. One specific issue, even though you may have many, but one about which you have a concern that you'd like some insights or a fresh perspective. And as you think of that, now let yourself move, knowing that that question is in your mind and you are communicating that question to the cards. Begin to see yourself or allow yourself to be in a state of flow. Follow the flow of your breath. With each exhale, your breath teaches you how to let go. Let each inhalation come to you as its own reminder that you can trust inspiration. Begin to feel gratitude for the gift of breath, the gift of life, the gift of spirit. Enjoy the feeling of gratitude. No matter where you are in your life, simply allow yourself that moment of gratitude and let the gratitude spark love of life in your heart. Let yourself experience and enjoy a feeling of love. And if you don't feel it spontaneously, imagine a person or a being, an animal that you love so much, so completely, without reservation, and let that feeling of love outflow your heart, overflow from your heart. Feel an abundance of love. Love is expanding in your heart. And as you allow your heart to expand, reach out and make a connection with the cards. Experience a connection, that loving connection that covers all things, all beings, and allow that love to surround the cards. Allow that love to surround your question or issue, to surround all the answers that may come through or the best answer for you today. And as you become one with the cards and that love carries through, we're going to allow you in a moment to simply open your eyes and gently, possibly if you'd like, with your non-dominant hand, pull a card from that place of love and connection with the cards, asking the cards for the best guidance for your question or situation today. And as you pull that card, turn it over and let's take a look. So as I do it, I pulled the King of Wands.
A lot of wands today.
Yeah.
Wands and swords, right?
So the King of Wands can be the card that I pulled, and I wasn't thinking so much of a situation, but I'm in a situation because as I was doing this, I was consciously modifying something I do for two partners into a one partner thing. And what the card I drew was is a card about a dynamic person. A King of Wands is dynamic and changeable, and so that can be a reflection of what was going on.
Nice. Now, for anyone who doesn't have a deck of cards to do this with, definitely put this audio somewhere in your favorites or star it so that you can come back to it when you get a deck of cards. Because again, we're just recommending for fun, for self-reflection, that it can be a really fun practice for you to start to read yourself and connect with yourself on a deeper level and just start that journey into the very deep dives that Lori said we can take with tarot and different card decks. So, Lori, now, if somebody wants a reading with you and they don't live near you, can they do that?
Absolutely. I do most of my readings, even for people locally, by phone because I tune into the voice. I'm clairaudient, which means I hear things. So I read by phone for people all over the world, and they can simply email me at Lori, Lorrie, at Lori, KAZAN.com. And I know you'll have that up posted under this
Show.
yes. Thank you. Under this show. And so people can find it. And my website is I Love My Psychic, PSYCHIC.com or LoriKazan.com. So I'm pretty easy to reach. I have a lot of articles. I have a lot of free stuff. My desire is to help people live the life they truly came in to live, and I use the cards with that kind of inspiration.
Lori, you are a wealth of knowledge and fascination, and I intuit that you will be a new Freedom Friday dominant guest on my show because you have lots to offer and you're very articulate and you love to share it. And I love to share what you have and know and learn from you as well, because I think these tools can only enhance somebody's connection to themselves. And that, of course, is one of my goals with this show. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me and for exploring these topics.
Thank you again for tuning in to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. If you're inspired and want more, come on over to fit2love.tv and check out our Freedom Fridays or find us on iTunes. More at Fit to Love, physical, emotional, and spiritual fitness for the happy life you deserve.